Well, hello everybody. A lot to talk about today. Trudeau went live, giving his spew against China. I want to get into that, but what's not news, but a lot of people going off the rails about in the province of New Brunswick. So, for Albertans and really all Canadians, especially for Alberta, it's huge. It's huge. My province, who was lowest on the list for double vaccination just 6 weeks ago. Heavy burden in Canada on ICUs and hospitalization for unvaccinated has taken over many other provinces, and now New Brunswick is panicking, looking at equalization, and it is affected Albertans. Equalization clawbacks, meaning more back to you. And specifically, that's the province of New Brunswick. They've come in with more restrictions, more mandates to try to get their unvaccinated population to vaccinate. ICUs 10 times the admission by unvaccinated, by the numbers. I haven't looked at them in detail as I did Alberta, but I can't see it being any different in any other region on the system of provincial health services. I think that you go across Canada, they would be the same. I could spend the money, the time, but I'm not going to do that. I trust that they are likely to be the same. And New Brunswick's in panic mode as their health services now drains at a higher rate than the province of Alberta. Alberta scared straight from September, making a huge comeback in double vaccination rates. Huge first climb in the booster shots that, like everybody needs to know, boosters were told to you by the manufacturers. They were told that they would be annual, possibly semi-annual, for the rest of the duration as long as COVID exists in its form. Omicron, Delta, the list will go on. Does not matter. You will need these boosters. They're going to come around, whether it's annually or semi-annually. The manufacturers never withheld this from you. Your governments did. Their governments did. Governments and the whole rollout of COVID has been atrocious. They do it on purpose. It leads to more autocracy. But today, Alberta defeats New Brunswick. Defeats them, which means a clawback on at least that much equalization. It puts equalization clawback in nearly hundreds of millions of dollars. Big money. To put it in perspective, it's the kind of grant for the entire province of Alberta police force. Think about that. Think about that, Albertans. Well done. Way to show the Confederation. Way to stand up as Ralph Klein did so many years ago. I'm very proud of my home province. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. CBC, Global CTV, not CTV Edmonton, but many other versions of the larger national corporation. Very proud of Alberta today. It's a major comeback. I'm glad my small portion to that. I'm glad the direction I took. Now to get in beyond that, like I said, I'm happy with my Alberta. Done very well. That's the way to do it. But we're going to get into Justin Trudeau, the opposition leader Aaron O'Toole, and the pathetic opposition Jagmeet Singh. Beyond that, Yves Blanchette and the rest of the loser parties federally. Liars. You can all look at this, verifiable facts. Our number one trading partner in this world is the United States of America. If it wasn't for the United States of America, Canada would not be in the position it is in wealth and prosperity, with all other corruptions aside. Now China, you want to talk China, you want to talk tough. You want to listen to political parties go on and on about what they're going to do to China and how tough Canada really is. Canada is an hypocrisy, a deep corruption, the tune of $56 billion a year. Corruption and hypocrisy. That is the overwhelming trade deficit Canada has with China. And I slipped Alberta by accident, but the reality is, if it wasn't for the province of Alberta, you can almost double that number. Massive, massive, massive fortune. Unbelievable. Our imports from China in manufactured goods are beyond all measure. The deficit is massive. It's over $120 billion a year, offset by the primary sector of Alberta. And a couple other provinces that add to that. I mean, it's partial, and I guess you can say it's significant, but just Alberta alone keeps that overwhelming deficit down. And if you think $56 billion a year for 40 million Canadians and First Peoples is a laughing matter, you're way out to lunch. And it's sad that all, and I mean absolutely all, of the established Canadian academics don't say one word or peep about it. My arch nemesis Trevor Tombe says not one word about it. Trudeau and all his rhetoric today against the Olympics, and we're gonna boycott China, but when our athletes go, we're gonna send a security detail, but we're not gonna officially support China, even though 85% of the world does, and actually frowns on Canada. Now, USA is America first. Of course they will. They're America first. But does Canada, as a non-UNSC rep, really gain anything from that except for a whole bunch of bullshit and propaganda to Canadian people, while at the same time importing so much manufactured goods in complete deficit? To put it in perspective, Canadians, you are trading gold bars, gold carrots, for vegetable carrots by the weight. That is sad, sick, depraved. China's throughout the Canadian economy, second largest trading partner, just under the USA. I mean, it's a large margin. It's about 7 times. But look at UK, your supposed crown-ruling organization, leader of us in the Commonwealth. The royal family brags about its deep ties with Canada, but they're only 3rd place. And do you know what our massive trade deficit with UK is? Financial service sector, non-generating GDP, meaning we are getting fisted Canadians by the United Kingdom, specifically through the royal family, through the Commonwealth of 54 nations. Much, much worse than China, even though China's bad, because we import manufactured goods we should be manufacturing ourselves. Not one party, not the Liberals, not the Conservatives, not the Labour Party, NDP, because we are as corrupt and worse than the former Nazi Germany regime under that constitution and crown colonialism, and absolutely South Africa pre-1984. That's Canada. Always has been, always will be. We cemented that action to remain just like the former unimposed South Africa 1984. We did that through absolutely altering our criminal code by the Conservatives and withdrawing from the ICJ, International Court of Justice, the international legal system. We removed ourselves. We changed our criminal code to basically abolish any attempt at real decolonization, and we signed the Commonwealth Charter of 2012, giving Prince Charles and the royal family complete and ultimate control over all of our international laws, allowing a huge take of our financial sector and control and all of our international legal powers to be given to them. Not the UK government, the royal family. It's sick, it's gross. We allow China to have their way with us. That is your government's fault. In one speak, they condemn China on human rights while continually violating human rights themselves at much the same capacity as China. And in fact, per person per capita, much larger than that. Do the ratio of First Peoples, I almost slipped with Indigenous. First Peoples, unceded, treaty, Indians, Métis and Inuit, what they absolutely do to a large margin, 1 in 40, which is a much larger per person per capita ratio of genocide than China can do with the Uyghur Muslims. That's a fact. That's real analysis, real numbers. Just as you import so much manufactured goods from China, you don't seemingly care about lower labor standards or child labor. You don't seem to care, Canadians. So I'm sorry, all of your narratives are horseshit, and the whole world sees it. Nearly 85% of the countries think Canada's pathetic, and all Canadians are pathetic. I'm sorry, Olympics versus trade, the world thinks you're a joke by a large margin. Many of our allies, and even members of the Commonwealth themselves and their crown colonial corruption, still won't go that far, because ultimately a lot of them have substandard labor practices, child labor themselves, and can compete with China. And Canada doesn't mind importing that kind of stuff, just like Middle East oil and the rest of it from the East, even importing Western products that have had to go through the USA's hands first. This is the kind of country we live in. This is our confederation. Lie, lie, lie. In one speak, they do one thing. In another, they say another and do another. The reality is China's not going anywhere. They're only getting stronger within Canada, over Canada, because ultimately at the end of the day, out of that $56 billion deficit, which is actually $120 billion, there are many rich fat cat politicians stuffing their pockets while double speaking out the side of their face, getting you all geared up to absolutely destroy all credibility of Canada on the world stage. We will never, ever, ever in a million years see the UNSC. We'll never see a seat on that council ever again as Canada goes on. Never. It's impossible. For most part, the UN General Assembly will never support Canada in any real major narrative. Never going to happen. Not only will we be vetoed by the UNSC, we can't even get a majority in the General Assembly. Not any real narratives. Nothing that Canada purports to you, like today. If there was a vote, which there was a vote, everybody, China won the Olympics by a whopping large majority. And Canada chose to stay with some pretty low, dirty, degenerate countries with serious, gross human rights and genocide atrocities today, just as Canada is. This is truth. Credible, verifiable. Anyone who wants to take the time, go look at the UN and the adoption of China's proposition, their resolution. They want it in massive, massive majority. And the world's going there. Canada's going there with the security force, but we want Canada to win the gold, but we can't physically say we support China, but we're going to go there and participate, don't worry. We're double speakers. And O'Toole's going to use that as his government will continue with China in massive, massive trade. A filthy, fat-ass liar. A loser, a low-life degenerate. And Jagmeet Singh, Mr. Labour, will utilize as much slave labor out of all of the Asian world as much as he can, filling his own pockets, his own Labour Party pockets, at the absolute expense of the working class, third-class Canadians. You will be taxed beyond all measure to account for that gross violation of absolutely world-binding law. Canada did this, nobody else. Your government did this, Canadians. Share because it's the truth, share because it's reality, and share because the media is not allowed to report on it as per your government crown colonial politicians from every political party. I am the only Canadian telling you the truth as a legal economist. Studied, trained, graduated. Thanks. That's my video today. Bye now.